أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear students, I am talking to 12 grade students, medical section, second year class, and my lecture number 5. I will recall my previous information. I was talking about exchange of the gases, but today I will tell you about a structure which you normally don't pay much attention in the body, but technically it is doing that work which is even not possible in living things. That is storage of oxygen. If you are studying since 8th class, you are getting information, dear students, that oxygen is not being stored in the living thing. There is no storage house of oxygen. That's why our respiratory issues are major issues in the body. Current deaths due to coronavirus is all over the world just because there is no storage of oxygen in our body. Very seldom people die due to lack of the food in the body, because food is stored in the form of the fat, and even you are not eating food for 2 to 3 days, you will be able to survive. But if you have not oxygen for even some seconds, you are not able to survive. Reason is that because you have no storage of oxygen in your body. But I am telling a pigment present in your body, that is not hemoglobin. Hemoglobin transport oxygen, that don't store oxygen. Transport oxygen. We were discussing hemoglobin in the last lecture. But I am talking about a structure which is not hemoglobin, but it is storing oxygen and present only in one cell, muscle cell only. You know, your activity depends upon your muscle cell. Your muscle cells are very different from other cells because maximum respiration take place. Golgi bodies are more, mitochondria are more, because all respiration reaction, the maximum respiration reaction, if my hand is moving, forelimb is moving due to skeletal muscles, the muscles of the forelimb, bicep, tricep, these muscles are doing respiration more. So these muscles are very important. If respiration stops for some time, these muscles should have little oxygen to survive. That is emergency backup, battery backup, just like mobile. So options are given to your body. This is not a very fragile body. Options are being given that if due to any reason if oxygen is not being supplied, so what will be the solution? The solution is that you have a pigment myoglobin, binding capacity more than the hemoglobin. Binding capacity, I will prove why the binding capacity is more. Binding capacity, there is not much storage of oxygen. You cannot say that completely storage of oxygen, but sometime it can have oxygen which can be supplied to your body later on. And binding capacity is more. And binding capacity more makes myoglobin little a bit storage of oxygen. So even respiratory system is not working, still person will be able to breathe for some time, and his muscles will be able to work little a bit until the respiration starts once again. So this is a very emergency backup of the body. And I will tell you, myoglobin is the transitional storage of oxygen. I am telling transitional storage because that is not the true storage, because I am not clarifying clearly that your body has storage, but transitional storage. For some time myoglobin can store. So you cannot say that you have storage body, because you cannot compare the food storage in the liver that phenomena with this phenomena. That is very different. Glycogen is stored here for 10 days, for 8 days. If you have water in your body, no issue, you can survive. You can survive because glycogen is there in the liver. That's why you are not eating 24 hours a day. You are eating just 1 time, 2 times. Even in the Ramzan Mubarak, some people eat only 1 time even. Do very little, eat in Sahri, and they eat in Aftari, and they are remain in a very good health. Reason is that because the food storage is there in the glycogen form. Dear students, we'll go back to our another topic which I will discuss today. Two topics I will discuss in this lecture. One is a myoglobin, and I will compare the myoglobin with the hemoglobin, because that is very necessary. Because you may be thinking, sir, why hemoglobin is unable to store the oxygen? Because you may be thinking some storage of oxygen in your body, because 99% problems occur in the body due to lack of oxygen. You know, now new research says the psychiatric patients also have the problem of lack of oxygen. They are not going to parks, they are not walking, they are not even offering prey. The prey, you know, when to ruku or sajda, our brain goes down, and our body oxygen by arteries, carotid arch move to our brain. That is beneficial for us. Preza is beneficial for us. What will happen? The oxygen will go more to the brain, and this is proved that when oxygen goes more to the brain, the person will be mentally healthy. Yes, that was the psychiatric patients are increasing, because oxygen is being decreased to the brain because due to lack of exercise, and we don't offer praise also, and we have no habit of exercise. We all, I am just talking in life routine work we currently having. So when we will exercise more, the oxygen is going into the tissues. So oxygen transport, oxygen storage, myoglobin. Second topic which I want to share: 3 ways to transport carbon dioxide. There are 3 ways to transport carbon dioxide. 3 ways to transport carbon dioxide. Now you are recalling the lesson. I know you want to ask me one thing. I ask from your side, sir, you was talking in the last lecture the carbon dioxide is transported in the form of the bicarbonate ion. And you already told that is a major form of the transport of the carbon dioxide, because bicarbonic acid will be formed, it will ionize further into hydrogen ion and bicarbonate ion, and that will travel into plasma, and then it will combine once again to form the carbonic acid, then it will decompose into water and carbon dioxide near the lungs. Sir, you are now telling 3 ways. Yes, that was the major way. 80 to 90% way was the 3 way. 80 to 90% ways was that was the transport which I mentioned earlier. That was the bicarbonate. But I will tell you today some other ways. Now the important point which I want to share. Students, very important: hemoglobin binding capacity less than myoglobin. Hemoglobin binding capacity less than myoglobin. I think I should show this slide, and then if that slide is available, I just checking. No, that is not available. I will explain. Look here, the point I want to explain this point earlier. Then you will be able to assess why myoglobin is a little bit storage than the hemoglobin, and where it is present. This 20 millimeter mercury, very important term, students. Now you will think yourself, then you will be able to assess. Myoglobin, 2 points I want your attention. If you are here, if you are listening carefully, you will get this concept, I am sure. Hemoglobin combined with the oxygen to form the oxyhemoglobin, clear? Myoglobin combined with oxygen to form the oxymyoglobin, clear? No problem. Problem is one: when hemoglobin will release oxygen, and when myoglobin will release oxygen. When hemoglobin will release oxygen, and when the myoglobin will release oxygen. Hemoglobin will release oxygen at higher pressure. I want your attention. Please think minutely. Hemoglobin will release oxygen at 60 millimeter of mercury, or 80 millimeter of mercury, or any other millimeter of mercury. It means that is a higher pressure. It means that it has less absorption, because it releases quickly, because little bit high pressure is that it will release. But myoglobin, Allah Ta'ala has given the quality that it will release oxygen at 20 millimeter of mercury. 20 millimeter of mercury is a minimum pressure as compared to hemoglobin. So only at 40 millimeter of mercury, hemoglobin will lose, myoglobin will not lose. At 30 millimeter of mercury, hemoglobin will lose, myoglobin will not lose. At 25 millimeter of mercury pressure, hemoglobin will lose. The myoglobin will lose at 20 millimeter. More binding capacity, pressure, more margin of pressure, more values of the pressure, the myoglobin will have oxygen. Why? Because myoglobin binding capacity with oxygen is more. because it will lose oxygen only when minimum pressure reach, which is 20 millimeter of mercury, and hemoglobin will lose the carbon dioxide, hemoglobin will lose oxygen very quickly, not as compared to the myoglobin. This was the main term, 20 millimeter of mercury. So mean pressure is the all thing, pressure is the main factor. If you can have oxygen at minimum pressure, so you are an oxygen absorber. If you cannot absorb oxygen, and you release oxygen at higher pressure, you are not absorber of oxygen, you are transporter of oxygen. That's why we say hemoglobin is a good transporter and myoglobin is a good absorber. Myoglobin is not transporting oxygen in your blood. It is present in the muscle, will keep the oxygen for some time. Even you are not respiring, it will give to the muscle, because muscles are cardiac muscles. If they will not pump, your heart will stop. Some muscles are very important. Your muscles present in esophagus, it will not push the food into stomach. Some muscles in the pharynx, it will not push everything into your trachea or the esophagus. So we go back to the difference between the myoglobin and the hemoglobin. If you see the 4 polypeptide change in the hemoglobin, 4 polypeptide change in the hemoglobin, 4 polypeptide chain, alpha chain, beta chain, 2 alpha chain, 2 beta chain. This group is called Heme group. Details I am not going to tell you, because in photosynthesis chapter I will tell you, because chlorophyll and hemoglobin almost structure same, little bit difference. Only central part is in case of chloroplast is magnesium, in case of hemoglobin is iron. Iron you can see here, heme portion. So heme portion has iron in the center. So these are 4 heme groups. So they can attach 4 oxygen molecule. Some days in the back lecture I was showing the oxyhemoglobin formula. What was the oxyhemoglobin formula? HB, yes, HB4O2, 4HbO2. Reason? 4O2. 4 molecules of the water was attached with the hemoglobin. 4 molecules of oxygen will attach with the hemoglobin molecule. It means that oxyhemoglobin consists of 4 oxygen molecule. Reason? Because 1 hemoglobin can combine with the 4 oxygen molecules, because this is a 4 chains, 2 alpha, 2 beta, 4 heme group. 4 heme group, they can attach with the 4 oxygen molecule. Now single chain, these are 4 polypeptide chain. Clear? Hemoglobin consists of 4 polypeptide chain. We'll go to the now myoglobin. Myoglobin consists of the 1 polypeptide chain. Myoglobin consists of the 1 polypeptide chain. Look here, the nature of polypeptide chain of the myoglobin is different. You can see the color, and you can see heme group is 1. So it will attach only 1 molecule of oxygen, but that binding capacity will be more. So one thing is given to the hemoglobin, that you can attach with more oxygen, but one thing, binding capacity is given less, because it will not be able to absorb much oxygen as it was being absorbed by the myoglobin. Myoglobin is not given 4 molecules, so myoglobin cannot absorb more oxygen. Reason? Because it has only 1 polypeptide chain. You can see 1 polypeptide chain, so it will absorb with the one oxygen molecule, but binding capacity will be more, because this polypeptide chain has different arrangement of the amino acid. Now question mark, sir, this hemoglobin also consists of polypeptide chain, myoglobin consists of also polypeptide chain. So why these binding capacity of myoglobin is more? Quality of the polypeptide chain, as I told you, that is sequence of amino acids. Each protein molecule is different from the others. Just like each human is different from the others due to different sequence of the DNA. Similarly, sequence of the amino acids in the protein molecule is very important. These sequence of amino acids will decide that which type of the protein that is. So this sequence of amino acid, the quality is that it will absorb more with oxygen, and in the hemoglobin, oxygen will absorb less with the oxygen. Now go back to the topic which I want to explain, that is the 3 type of transport of carbon dioxide. Yes, sir, you was not highlighting these 3 transports. You highlighted bicarbonate, ion, carbonic acid. I already told you that carbon dioxide transport in the form of bicarbonate, ion, HCO3 minus 1, important reason, because it consists of carbon dioxide, and it will change into carbonic acid, which will release carbon dioxide. That is more in concentration, mean that major part of carbon dioxide transport is in the form of bicarbonate ion, and only some part taken place by two other ways, which I am carboxyhemoglobin. No, hemoglobin is hero here. Now, how many time hero? 3 times, 2 times, 3 times. 1 time it combined with oxygen, the major part. The second time, the second major portion of the hemoglobin, the second major part, that the hemoglobin is important, that hemoglobin went with the hydrogen ion and it formed hemoglobinic acid, reduces hydrogen also, make the blood buffer solution and releases oxygen. Second hero. Third hero, still the hemoglobin role is left. Still the hemoglobin role is left. What is the role which is left? That 23% of the carbon dioxide combined, 23% of the carbon dioxide combined with the hemoglobin to form the carboxyhemoglobin. This is important to note, that partial pressure of the gases. Yes, all gaseous exchanges are being taken place by partial pressures. Partial pressure. If the partial pressure in the tissue of carbon dioxide is more, the carbon dioxide from the tissue, it will enter into the plasma, mean from the cell to the plasma, and it will combine with the carboxyhemoglobin. So in the carboxyhemoglobin, 23% transfer of total carbon dioxide. Out of total carbon dioxide, about 23% of total transfer of carbon dioxide take place by this way, and it will based upon partial pressure of one gas. Pressure of carbon dioxide in the tissue will be more. In the tissue will be more due to respiration. You know, C6H12O6 plus oxygen from carbon dioxide plus water. This carbon dioxide in the tissue during respiration will have create the pressure, partial pressure, PCO2. This higher pressure will move the gas by diffusion from high concentration to low concentration, from the red blood cell to the plasma, and this is very simple. The carbon dioxide will not forming bicarbonate ion, please, this is different phenomena. It will dissolve in the blood. You know, carbon dioxide little bit get soluble in the blood, in the liquid part of the blood, water, plasma. Reason is that because carbon dioxide is little bit polar. Third form is that is important also. So only 7%, but important in the sense, I will give you example of aquatic plants. First of all, aquatic plants, you know, hydrilla, HYDRILLA, hydrilla. So someone may be thinking, sir, in aquatic plants, how the gases enter, how the gases come out. I think we discussed in one class that in normal plants there is a stomata, there is a guard cell. Guard cells enter the oxygen, guard cells enter carbon dioxide removed at daytime, in night time, and at daytime oxygen enters through the guard cell, and lenticels in the stem move the gases. In the human body, in the hydrilla, first of all, in aquatic plants, how the gases enter? Because there is no guard cells and there is no these structures are present, because these animals are dipped in the water. Answer I think I gave in one class, in dissolved form. Some gases are little bit soluble. That's why fishes are alive. That's why aquatic life is available in under the water, because these gases to some extent are soluble, not to much extent, but to some extent they are soluble in water. Carbon dioxide, as I told you, because oxygen electronegativity more, carbon led to two polar bond little bit present, and it creates the polarity, and it make the carbon dioxide soluble in the water, not completely but partial soluble in water, enough to respire. So this 7% of carbon dioxide, now question mark, I am already giving my answer. I am already giving the answer of my question. So only 7%, sir. Why is 7% of carbon dioxide only soluble in is transferred by this way? Because that is less soluble. That is less soluble. If it is more soluble, so then bicarbonate ion mechanism would not have been present in your body. That and carboxyhemoglobin mechanism would not have been present. The major mechanism of bicarbonate ion will not be present. Reason, because carbon dioxide was less soluble, and in soluble form only 7% of carbon dioxide is carried out into your body. So once again, students, I will tell you, myoglobin, hemoglobin. These are two proteins, and these are the oxygen binding proteins, and hemoglobin can also combine with oxygen with 4 polypeptide chains. 2 alpha, 2 beta. One information I will give, and I will close this lecture of today. If you have listened abnormality of hemoglobin, sickle cell hemoglobin, in which hemoglobin, a type of cancer in which hemoglobin is not transporting oxygen, and lot of kids are in present in the Shaukat Khanum Memorial Hospitals having this type of disease, sickle cell anemia type disease, sickle cell hemoglobin and hemophilia type disease. When hemoglobin is unable to transport oxygen, these 4 hemoglobins damage, these 4 protein molecules polypeptide chain damage, especially beta chain damage. How it damage? Only one amino acid sequence change, it become abnormal, it shape sickle shape, and it is unable to transfer oxygen. Mean that you got the idea, sequence of amino acids are so much important in the protein molecule, just like the sequence of nucleotide in the DNA. Even single sequence will matter, it will change the property of whole protein. Whole hemoglobin is useless, and this is just like a waste product for you, sickle cell hemoglobin, and it can create the cancer. May Allah cure all patients of sickle cell hemoglobin. Thank you very much, and I hope you will revise lecture number 5. Allah Hafiz.